So, one of the coolest aspects of the mace, or one thing people really want to dive into when they first get their hands on the mace, is utilizing it in their ESD work and that energy systems development. I think it works great in like a more lactic towards aerobic style of training, just because the load and the movements that you do with it don't allow for a super high power output. Now you can argue you can do some rotational stuff and train more alactic or quote unquote red zone training, but I think for the most part, we're training that mid to long, almost that burn style of ESD. And frankly, it's a lot of fun using a novel tool like the mace, but of course, you want to master the movements that you're doing before you start to do them dynamically and then do them under fatigue, right? So making sure all the movements that you program for your members in your ESD sessions, they know for sure they've 100% seen before, they've shown capacity, and that they can perform these movements well before, again, we start to get crazy in our ESD sessions with them. So today, a great sample starting workout here, doing 20 seconds of work, 20 seconds of rest, 2 to 3 rounds. And just based off of how you feel, you can maybe even throw in a 4th round in there if you're feeling good. So some of these movements are going to be a little more complicated, but we'll have scaled options up and down to allow you to kind of work at your own level. So our first move is going to be a reverse lunge into a spear position. It's just a standing spear position. So we have our over, and we're going to be a rotated rotated bottom position. So when we start bottom position with our over grip, think about pulling that mace apart. And when we step back into that reverse lunge, we're going over, rotated bottom. Now, big thing here in that rotated bottom position, thinking about staying elongated through that spine, getting a decent chunk of thoracic extension as we pull that mace apart. So from here, boom, down, and then we're sliding through into that spear position. So I'm thinking chin over the pull-up bar, actively pulling that mace down to my sternum, and then rotating back down. We can go slow with it to start. Boom, crossbody bottom, spear, the little uppercut, crossbody bottom, rotated. Boom, crossbody bottom, spear. And as we feel good, we can really get through our uppercut, making sure we pull our head above that mace or pull that mace down below the shin. We're going to go 20 seconds on one side, 20 seconds of rest, then hitting 20 seconds on the other side. Moving to a great one. We get a little overhead mobility work, a little lengthening through the lat, a little core stability into our squat with our Barbarian Squat. So we're essentially hitting a standing pullover. We'll one hand on top for 20 seconds, then we'll switch. Other hand on top for 20 seconds. From nice side, you hear line. Boom, one hand on the knurling, one hand on the bottom. Pulling over, rib cage stays down, and then we'll slowly slide the hands to the bottom. Controlled squat. Boom. And we're getting a lot of anti-flexion, anti-rotation, challenging our core stability into that bottom position. If we want to make it more challenging, we can press away, add a little shoulder stability in there as well as we hit the bottom. And one thing, as we pull over our head and ride down to the bottom of that squat, I want you to think about wringing out the towel, right? So squeezing and really driving that mace to create some tension in the forearm and the bicep and the shoulder to help us brace, control that weight a little bit more. And then finally, our last movement is going to be in a B stance or a kickstand position. We're going to hit a RDL plus a row, and then same idea. We'll go 20 seconds on one side, rest for 20 seconds, hit 20 seconds on the other side. So here, starting with that over position, again, pulling the mace apart. And I want you to think hand close to the mace head to start. Boom, and whatever hand or whatever side the mace head is on, that side is in front. That's going to be our stance leg. Just gently on that back foot, we can lift the toes off the ground. Slight bend in both knees. I'm hinging over, back stays flat, pull, squeeze, drop it down, bring it back up. Now as we feel comfortable, we can start to play with that lever length. Slide the hand away from the mace head a little bit. Then we get some anti-rotation on the way down and in our row. Now, if this movement feels crazy easy or feeling good with that pattern, we can add a little bit of T-spine rotation, a little internal rotation of our hip in there as well. So we've mastered the long lever. Now we'll bring the hand back right up against the mace head. Again, as always, pulling that mace apart. Unlock the knees, hinge, row, keep it tight to the body. Rotate into that hip, back down, boom, relax. And as always with these movements, as we start to link things together, we can make it look fluid. We can flow in and out of things, but there should be a distinct stopping point between those movements. So we're not just kind of flowing and sloppily moving around, but even if I'm flowing through it, there's still a distinct moment between each position there where I'm in control of that base the whole time. So again, we're doing 20 seconds of work, 20 seconds of rest. Make sure we're hitting each side, 2 to 3 rounds with this. If it's your first time doing any sort of ESD with the mace, take it super slow. Maybe we're not hitting that uppercut to the spear position, right? Maybe we're just hitting that rotated bottom on the lunge and pulling back across, right? Just playing with it, getting the heart rate up, and as we get that heart rate up, making sure we maintain those key positions. Last little note, last little nugget here. If the 20 seconds rest is or should be long enough to allow you to put the mace down for a second. One big thing as we start to do mace-only ESD work, grip becomes a major limiting factor, especially as we're driving a lot of intent, pulling the mace apart, breaking the mace in half, wringing out the towel like I've talked about through some of these movements. Think through putting the mace down, giving the forearms a little bit of a break until you really start to build that capacity and use the mace more regularly.